What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blerd Lines. Tonight, you're going to have our first review on the channel, and of course, it's none other than the hit Netflix documentary Tiger King. Before we begin, make sure you always remember to subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Blerd Lines. Also, subscribe to our Facebook group, our Twitter at Blerd Lines 2020, our Instagram, Blerd Lines 2020, our Twitch channel, which we will be start streaming games soon at Blerd Lines. And of course, like always, email all questions and topic requests at blerdlines2020 when we do our next show. Now, before I begin, just want to let you guys know this is going to be another part of my weekly series. Of course, reviews, movies, shows, especially while we're in this quarantine. Try to want to get out as much content as possible. And of course, views, suggestions from fans, from everyone out there would be greatly appreciated. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Tiger King. Now, of course, everybody, most of the country, most of the world is stuck in their house right now with things to watch. And something that you'll probably see a lot on social media is memes like this. Talking about Tiger King. Tiger King has everything. Tigers, lions, murder, a gay redneck tropical, which I never heard of a tropical till just now. One-armed lesbian, alligator arson, mullets, pizza made from expired Walmart meat, a zoo-based sex cult, crazy cat lady, and country songs about tigers and gay love. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is just the tip of the iceberg. This show is crazy. I mean, it's 8 episodes, I believe. It's 7 or 8 episodes of just the most unbelievable stuff that you can think of, and it's all caught on tape. I mean, that's just how crazy it is. You would think, if you watch this as a movie, they said it was a true story. You've seen that before with movies where they say based on a true story, and you don't believe half of it, or a lot of it is embellished to just sell the movie. Not this, not Tiger King. Tiger King is crazy. And I believe the tagline is madness, mayhem, and murder, which it has all of that. I mean, it's just insane where this documentary goes. Of course, the star of this documentary, Tiger King, is Joe Exotic. Joe Exotic is a man of many trades, many hats. He's a pet owner, pet breeder, wild pet seller, country music artist, reality TV star. I guess you want to say an openly gay politician. He's ran for president, ran for governor. I mean, this guy does it all. And I will tell you this, from the time he's on your TV screen, from the time the documentary ends, you feel like you know this guy. I mean, as outlandish as it is, you think this character is made up, and it's not. He's entirely real. And of course, there's just it's not just him. It goes through a whole thing. I would say in the story, there are 3 main people. Of course, you got Joe Exotic, who runs his zoo in Oklahoma. But then you also have Carol Baskin, who runs Big Cat Rescue in Tampa, which I live in the Tampa St. Pete area, so I know about I've heard about Big Cat Rescue. I know about Big Cat Rescue. So they go into her and how she got started, and these two are mortal enemies. I mean, I've seen feuds before, but their feud is like on a Tupac Biggie. Like, matter of fact, I think it trumps Tupac and Biggie when it comes to feuds. I mean, you want to talk about 2 people hating each other. It's these 2. And of course, I would say the 3rd biggest star is Doc Antle, who runs his zoo in my home state of South Carolina in Myrtle Beach. And I would say out of the 3, he might be the one who has his zoo more of, lockdown. With Joe to me ran his zoo like a circus, like traveling carnival. It wasn't the most, extravagant thing, out in the middle of nowhere. Carol really runs a rescue, sort of like a sanctuary, you know. And Doc has like high end operation staff, staff full of women, and they go. I would say each person has an episode dedicated to them. Um, but what I think is so funny about these characters is how different they are, how they all hate each other, especially how much Joe and Doc hate um, Carol. And the stuff that they talk about with each of these characters, from Joe with his extravagant lifestyle, pretty much trying his hand in everything from music. The only thing he didn't do was try to make his own movie, which, believe it or not, you can just take his story and I swear you have the most insane movie you can think of. Just some of the other people that they have in this documentary, you got the staff, and the staff, Joe's staff in particular, these are maybe the four people who they focus on the most. Between the manager, who, if you look at your screen, in the bottom right-hand corner, has no legs. Now, granted, he tells you off that he did not lose his legs from the Tigers. He lost it in another accident. But the woman next to him, Saf, I believe is her name, she lost her arm at the zoo in a tiger cage, and it's on camera. Like, they go through that whole process and how she came back and everything, and it is insane. You also got Eric at the top left-hand corner, who he's very vocal on both sides about the good things and the bad things. He's completely unbiased. And the guy on the top right-hand corner is very interesting, because not only is he's one of the head keepers at Joe's Zoo, but he's also one of his husbands. At one point in the documentary, they talk about how Joe was married to two men at the same time, and they go into detail about it. It's very interesting, to say the least. But the staff plays a huge part in not only, talk about what goes on in the zoo, goes on in Joe, but how the entire events affected their lives. And of course, some of the other standout characters you have. My man over here in the top left-hand corner is reptile salesman, or yes, believe a reptile salesman. I just included him because I like the way he looked. I thought it was hilarious. Especially they show him like on his motorcycle. He looks like Santa Claus riding a Harley. The guy next to him is Carol's husband, who this is Carol's third husband. She leaves her first husband to be with her second husband. There's a whole episode about that. But of course, if you know social media, they, a lot of things you may see, not really spoiler alert, but Carol's second husband goes missing. And they hint to Carol may have something to do with it. Does it involve some animals? Does it involve a septic tank? We don't know, but just watch the episode. And Joe has a lot to say about that situation as well. But her third husband is still alive, and he's featured prominently in this series as well. And you can kind of sense the fear in him. In our bottom right, left-hand corner, you have Kirchman, who was the producer of Joe's internet show. He had an internet show. And also, he was trying to make a reality TV show. So they talk about that as well. And he's no holds barred when he describing it, and I enjoyed that. That's one thing I enjoyed about this documentary. No one holds anything back. Everybody keeps it up front. They keep it 100. They, it's almost like they get a lot off their chest, but it opens the light to so much more things, and that's what really drags you into this documentary. Is you get a lot of information, and it's like right when the episode ends, it starts to take you into another direction, and it makes you want to stay, because it's like, oh wait, hold on, where are we going with this now? Also, right here, you have Mario, who runs his own pet sanctuary in Miami. Thing about Mario is, and we'll go back, out of Joe, Carol, and Doc, he's the fourth biggest, has the biggest collection. He's the only one that's a criminal. He's a former drug dealer. And I'm not talking about like small petty drug dealers, like inspiration for Scarface drug dealer. And you learn a lot about him. And those are some of the characters at the first half of the documentary. I would say there gets to a point in the documentary where people are sort of, you could tell the documentary was meant to go one way, maybe to talk about the battles between Carol and Joe. But then halfway through the documentary, there's a shift that happens to where a situation occurs and it delves into that. And it involves these three characters. And this is where the murder comes in. Now, I won't spoil what all happens and how these three gentlemen are involved, but what you do see is the rise and fall of Joe Exotic and how all these people play a part in it. And to the point where even when the story ends, when the last episode finishes, you still kind of don't know where you're at with this story. It leaves a lot to the imagination where they can go. I mean, you have everything. You have betrayals, you have murders, you have attempted murders. I mean, you have people dying, and it's all on camera, and it's all 100% real. None of it is fabricated. None of it is, oh, maybe we should show that. No, they go into it. They go into detail. And what I liked about this documentary was you really start to feel for Joe. I mean, don't get me wrong. Joe is not perfect in this documentary, not one bit. And there's things Joe does that you're like, dude, like, what is wrong with you? I mean, his battle between Carol and Joe, his battle between Carol is, wow. I mean, it's the chunk of the series is the battle between those two. And it leaves you kind of wondering whose side that you're on. Whether you're on Joe's side or if you're on Carol's side. I would say Doc doesn't like Carol either, but Doc, you can tell this is a battle he doesn't want to be a part of. But, the real star of this documentary is Joe. I mean, and it goes through everything. It goes, talks about his music career, which, to be honest with you, is not that bad. I mean, I've heard worse. The songs are kind of catchy. His diss song to Carol might be top 5 diss songs I've ever heard. The video alone is on some Tupac Hit 'Em Up style levels. I mean, it is insane. But some of the other takeaways is, they talk about, his presidential run, which I was fine with for a little bit. It was cool to see it, his governor run, but there's get to a certain point, you start missing some of those other characters. Like, it gets to the point where they don't talk about Carol as much. They don't talk about Doc or some of the other wildlife people. And that's what I was kind of liking the most about this documentary, was not just Joe, but some of the other people in this as well. All in all, if I had to give this a grade, honestly, I would give it maybe 4.5 out of 5. I mean, it's worth it. I started watching this yesterday. I watched the first 2 episodes yesterday, and I just completely binged the rest today. Before I knew it, I went from episode 3 to episode 7. I was like, wait, whoa, how did I get this far? And you're going to do that with this show. This show is definitely worth the watch. Make sure that, you set time. You may see stuff on social media that you think might spoil it. It doesn't. I mean, I really hope there's a season 2 of this, because I want to see where else they can go with this story. With that being said, this is Greg signing off. Again, make sure you subscribe, and you guys be safe during this time. Make sure you're staying inside, and wash your hands.